Asu Almabayev, he's on this ridiculous 17-fight win streak. Is this a Muhammad Mokaev replacement right here, or does this man have his own standing in this division?
I want to say he's on his own, right? I want to say that, but I do think...
The star boy, does he have this run in him? Really, the question that I should ask you is, if he doesn't get past Almabayev, do we ever see Manel Kape fighting for a championship?
If he doesn't get past this one, Derick, I think the chances are slim to none right there. I mean, even though he's doing it on somewhat of a short notice, I mean, he needs to be proven that he's a dog any day, anytime, anywhere, and this is the fight to let it be known.
It's weird, man, because Almabayev, relatively unknown in the actual big promotion scene in the UFC scene. Manel Kape, we know he has all the tools. If you look at his losses, far and few in between. But for whatever reason, man, he's not getting the big push, and I'm not understanding why that is, but we're going to break that down, of course. Folks, we're here to break down UFC Fight Night 253, UFC Vegas 103, whatever you want to call it. But before we do that, as always, let's take a step back. AJ, let's reassess some work that we had. UFC Seattle, man, it was a good one, but we need to break down the consensus picks, our picks, and our props. So let's give them a quick rundown, my friend. 2-0 on the consensus picks. I love a good start right there. John Silva, Song Yadong. Give the people a quick recap, man. Song, fingers out. Mighty Mouse, he said it best himself. He said, he says, those fingers went so deep in them eye holes, if Henry Cejudo could, he'd be pregnant from those pokes. That was deep in there, brother. Obviously, it swayed the output of the fight, but again, that ego of Henry Cejudo, I kind of said, he's masterful. I think he was trying to play the game, and it kind of backfired. What did you make of it?
Absolutely, Derick. I thought Cejudo was off to a good start, ready to mix it up, right? Going the standing route, kind of playing with him a little bit. I expected to see more of the wrestling, more of the pressure from Cejudo, but I do think the power and the speed of Song might have given him a little bit of problems. I'm interested to see what you think about how the ref handled it, Derick. Do you think a point should have been taken and then ending it on the third so that we could go to the scorecards instead of ending it when it actually happened? There's a lot of comments out there saying that Jason Herzog might have not done the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, a weird spot. I think that the rules were followed, though, because at the end of the day, the fourth round didn't need to start for it to go to a technical decision. You just had to have 3 completed rounds, and it's kind of more on Cejudo than anything else to just try to fight through the last minute or whatever when he was just skating around to make it to the buzzer. I think where the real problem lies is I have a feeling, and I could be completely wrong, I have a feeling Cejudo thought that he was up on point. So he's like, oh, how much time is left? Like, where am I at on the card decision? I'm going to sneak one out because all that matters is I just need to get a win. My back is up against the wall. That was the whole narrative, right? But it backfired. Dana's like, I'm not interested in a rematch. I don't want to see that again. And then Song's big name win doesn't really count. It's a win, and that's what people will remember, that you beat Cejudo, but you don't get that same momentum. You get, yeah, like I said, made the man pregnant. I don't know. It's a weird one. Listen, man, that was an interesting one. Let's talk about the actual outcome, brother. Close one on the sheet for us. 4-2 for me. 3-3 for you. Excuse me. That brings us though to an even tally, brother. It's 0-0. 20, 10, and 1 across the board. A consensus 66% accuracy rating here at the Bloody Water Podcast. AJ, what does that mean for the people watching at home?
Woo, folks, what it means is we're still on the winning side, right? We're not at the 70%, and plus we're looking to be hitting, but folks, look at those numbers. We're winning almost twice as much as we're losing out here. Still putting money in your pockets, folks. There's room to grow, and we're going to be making you even more money right now.
It's early. We got a long year ahead of us, and sometimes it already happened to both of us at one point. For me, I said, yo, I'd rather be lucky than to be good. AJ, I think it was your week this week. Rob Font, he got a win over the short notice John Matsumoto. What did you take on? Just be real with me, man. Did he win those first 2 rounds? How did he get the split decision?
Oh, no. I don't think he won those first 2 rounds, Derick. I think what won the fight for him is the slick boxing in the big moments, right? The elbow at the middle, blood in him up. But no, I don't think he won the first 2 rounds. But I will say, Derick, and especially with the other fights, being on the wrong side of decisions, if you're not doing damage, right, you're just controlling, you're just trying to smother them, that's not winning fights anymore in the judge's eyes.
Something to think about when you're making your picks, folks. It's not as easy as just who's the favorite, who's the dog. So with that being said, though, I hit on Song, Hernandez, Silva, and Menefield. That was the other contentious pick. You hit on Song, Font, and Silva right there. AJ, let's talk about some props. I have no good way to put this, my friend. We laid a goose egg, but we did it in the worst way imaginable. Can I start with mine? Do you mind? All right, I'll lead the floor. I'll eat crow first. John Silva, Melsik Bagdasaryan. I said two counter strikers who are going to have a game plan, a stylistic flow that just will extend the fight. It'll make it a little bit longer. Hey, don't let John Silva dap you up. I think that's the lesson that we learned. Stop being buddy with this dude because he's all cool with you, and then 10 seconds later he's laying you out with a nasty left hook, putting you on your butt. It was one of those nasty ones, bro, where he looked at him, ref. No? All right, bro. But you got to know John Silva's a good guy because he dropped elbows, but like to his body, like to the shoulder. You know what I mean? Like he could have dropped those on his dome piece, straight up, been cut up, bled up, all that. John Silva, Lord Silva, he's going to be a star, bro. I think that's for sure. So TKO, round 1. I missed. I'm sorry, guys. AJ, Basharat. This is a little bit of a bigger miss. Go ahead and talk to the people.
Missed by a mile, Derick. Swing and a miss by a long shot. I definitely thought Basharat was going to stay a little more calculated, still a little more cool, calm, and composed, be able to have that technical style that we've seen him have in the past. Ricky Simón just proved he's an absolute dog, and in his own home state, he's looking to absolutely turn heads, and that's what he did against Basharat. Made his chin touch his shoulder, and night, brother. Yeah, Basharat by decision, minus 145. Even the odds makers were at shock. If you hit on that Simón TKO, man, crazy. I know there's a lot of people that like Ricky Simón. I don't think a lot of people were thinking he was going to knock out Basharat like that.
Show me your tickets, people. If you bet on Ricky Simón TKO, show me the tickets. Hey, listen, this, I don't want to be too dramatic, but this was essentially Kamaru Usman, Jorge Masvidal all over again, man. Like the wrestler came in and just put hands on the striker. Huh? Hey, it is what it is. All right, AJ, the key takeaways. Out of 12 bouts, 8 concluded via stoppage. This was actually a banging fight night card. This was a really good one right here. 6 knockouts, 2 submissions, 4 were decided by decision, and there were 2 split decisions on the card. 4 dogs cashed. Rob Font, AJ hit you with that one. Iwan Kutalaba, Ricky Simón, and then Austin Vanderford. So, flashback to last week, we said, can Vanderford make a splash in the division? Well, he's off to a good start. Varetnikov, don't think he's going to be in the company much longer after the shove, after the belt. But, all right, that was our trip down memory lane. AJ, now it's time to talk about, again, UFC Fight Night 253. Folks, we got to get some SEO up in here. We need y'all to know what event we're talking about. So we're going to call it something a little bit different. Let's talk about the consensus picks, AJ. We got 3 of them. The Star Boy, Manel Kape, surprisingly rolling with the Cuban Missile Crisis, Julian Marquez, and then left-handed God, Danny Barlow, coming off of 2 left arm fractures. We're going to talk about it. Give us the theme for our consensus picks.
The theme this week, Derick, you kind of alluded to it already, brother. I'm going with shock and awe. All these dudes have power. They have absolute KO potential right here, and I'm expecting to see a lot of finishes with these consensus picks.
Fair play. You want to hear about the contentious picks? Stick around. We're going to break them down in a bit, but we got to get to the prop locks. AJ, you got a fun one? Talk to the people.
Fun one right here, folks. We're going Brundage versus Marquez over 1.5, and this one's plus money, right? We've seen the track, how it goes. Unders necessarily aren't hitting, so I saw a prop at over at plus money. Both of them have similar fight styles, expecting a frantic start for both the fighters. They've actually proven to struggle in those kind of frantic starts, so if they want to get back to their winning ways, they're going to need to be more calculated instead of reckless, and that's going to lead to put this fight to the over.
Okay, I like it. For my prop lock, folks, we are going with some big boys. Austin Lane, Mario Pinto, the UFC newcomer. We're going under 1.5 rounds for obvious reasons right here, minus 115, so it's even odds. Pinto can extend the fight a little bit. Austin Lane coming off the first decision victory in the UFC, but here's the key, man. This is more of an Austin Lane play right here. Austin Lane has not seen over 1.5 round, really, I should just say that, and I think like all but one of that, besides that last decision, it hasn't happened for the man. The man barely makes it out of the second round, first round as it is. So we're going to bet on the big boys swinging. Austin Lane needs a win, and he needs an impressive win. Decision wins aren't going to cut it. It's not going to keep your spot. We just saw a slew of notable name recognition fighters, including my favorite, JSP, Jonathan Pierce, cut from the UFC. Folks, you got to earn your spot, and I think that's what's going to hit, I should say. So that is your prop lock. A lot of fun stuff in store. Folks, we're going to talk about main card next. If you haven't subscribed to the program, we're almost 4,000 subscribers strong. We love it. We're going to keep bringing you great content, and the only ask that we have collectively, AJ, I believe you would agree with this, smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on the picks when they matter. You don't need my value pick on Sunday after the fight happened, or on Saturday while the fights are happening. That line is gone. You need AJ's pick, you need my pick, and we're here to bring it to you. So AJ, let's not mince any more words, brother. Jump straight into this main card, bro. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Manel Kape, the star boy, Asu Almabayev. It seems like a mismatch when you really look at the two careers that they're fighting, right? Listen, man, you got a credentialed former champion in a regional promotion, if you want to call Rizin that, but a dude who literally was in title contention the moment that he got into the UFC. And Asu Almabayev, even though he's on this ridiculous 17-fight win streak, I mean, listen, man, this dude is here to wrestle. Doesn't have much for you on the feet. Is this a Muhammad Mokaev replacement right here, or does this man have his own standing in this division?
Ooh, that's a good question, Derick. I want to say he's on his own, right? I want to say that, but I do think we're a little bit similar to what you're thinking, man. The Mokaev replacement. If we've seen how specialists no longer have to even have a foothold in what the UFC is nowadays. You need to be well-rounded. You need to be able to do all the other things out there. Because if your wrestling doesn't work, man, Starboy's going to piece you up.
Yeah. I mean, listen, AJ, I got kind of some harsh opinions on this matchup here. Not because I'm overconfident in my analysis, but just pure film review, man. I think Asu Almabayev has nothing on the feet from Manel Kape other than freezing him a little bit and making him think about the takedown. I was just replaying the Jose Johnson fight and the Mateus Nicolau fight. And, Mateus Nicolau, that was the one that he beat Manel Kape, didn't really do much, right? But he won the fight. And when you have a lot of movement coming at you, Almabayev isn't super aggressive with, let me just blast double, right? He'll come in, shoot on a single, get to a body lock, and start initiating some trips, start initiating some throws, things of that nature. Awesome. But on that first level takedown defense from Manel Kape, I mean, especially, look at the Mokaev fight. He lost the fight. But you just mentioned earlier, talk to him again about what you had mentioned about a close fight. You're not really doing damage, but you're controlling. That doesn't guarantee you a win. Lead on that a little bit more.
It's no longer 2022, folks. Yeah. The judging has completely changed, right? We would always talk about if you're just controlling, you're looking to actually do, or at least in the judge's eyes, you're winning that fight, right? DC would comment it all the time during fights, like he's controlling the entire time. He's winning this fight. No longer is that the case, folks. You have to be able to do damage. You have to get the shock and the awe from the crowd, and that's what's really swaying the judges. I mean, we talked about it in the Font fight. Like, I do think that one elbow up the middle and blooding up Matsumoto, that's really what got the judges to be like, wow, he did win this fight. Same thing again last week against Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. As much as Allen was controlling a lot of those moments, Hernandez was doing a lot more of the damage. He won the fight. That's how the UFC has really started to switch toward their judging.
Especially in a close fight where the damage gets done late or in that last round. You remember the beginning, you remember the end. So when it comes to a fight like this, it is easy to look at it and say this is a dog or pass type fight, right? Minus 220, Manel Kape, current line as we're standing right now, right? So it's pretty impressive on that end that he's still able to, even though I feel like he's being overlooked in this matchup, but he's still a pretty dominant favorite right here. Let's talk about the value side for Asu Almabayev. This is a 5-rounder, man. So if the takedown defense starts to wane a little bit in the later rounds, who's to say that Almabayev cannot sneak out a decision victory, just a control victory?
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, Derick, until at least as of late, at least how this year has been going. Control decisions aren't just happening anymore. If Manel Kape is able to run away with 3 rounds and leave Asu Almabayev bloodied up, lumped up, I do think he has a good chance to be able to go. And I mean, you're talking about defense waning 77%. I was looking at a stat earlier. I don't have it pulled up now, but in the last 17 attempts or so that Manel Kape has been shot against, he's stopping all his takedowns, man. 77% takedown defense. If that lasts rounds 1 through 3, I don't know how much the gas tank of Almabayev is going to be able to put out even more in round 4 and round 5.
Again, though, it's that first layer defense, right? Like that first initial shot, boom, I got you. But we did see it in the Mokaev fight. When you chain them together, when he gets on his back, he'll talk about it. I'm a skilled black belt. I'm a fantastic jiu-jitsu practitioner, and that's awesome. But you don't win fights off of your back unless you're submitting your opponent. So that is the one part where I don't see as much of an urgency from Kape is getting back up to the feet, which scares me for Almabayev here. I'm looking at value, man. I'm just saying, like, hey, how can I make as much money as possible? Plus 180 on Almabayev. I like the value. But AJ, if we're going back to just kind of, what we had talked about originally, at the end of the day, man, experience, speed, especially for Manel Kape, if he can keep it standing for a prolonged amount of time, I wouldn't be surprised if he hits on that. Let me look at what the current odd is right now for Kape for the TKO, plus 185. It was plus 175 at open, so it shifted just a little bit. What do you think about that TKO prop for Kape?
I like it a lot, Derick. I was actually looking at this one earlier, man. If he's able to get on his horse and to really start rolling, get in that flow state, his skill level on just striking alone outweighs what Asu Almabayev is even able to defend and see coming at him. I do think he can overwhelm him and then open up those holes to be able to find the counter. I like that one almost more than I like the opening for the decision at plus 200.
So, I mean, really, Asu Almabayev, like I said, on the feet, all he has for him is feints and maybe a big overhand. He did drop Nicolau. I think it was like a nice little check or something like that. And that was or maybe it was either him or it was Jose Johnson. But he dropped him with the left hook, and that was his takedown. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. You cannot deny that the man has power. It's just a matter of it's kind of Habib-ish. Habib has to land the big shot. He did drop McGregor after all, but we're not talking about Habib. We're talking about Asu Almabayev, and I need to see a little bit more before I bet against Manel Kape here. So let's just talk the numbers right here. Over 3.5 rounds, minus 200 for the over, plus 160 for the under. That was at open. Currently, AJ, it shifted to 4.5. Minus 160 for the over, plus 125 for the under. What do you like?
Derick, I especially now at 4.5, I like the under a lot more right here. I know unders, like I said before, early in the prop block, they don't always have the best track record of hitting, but I do think with the capabilities that Manel Kape has, he's able to find those big moments. A decision, especially for this kind of fight, I can see happening pretty frequently as well. I'm going to stick with the under on this one.
Some of the stats would back you here. Manel Kape is tied for the highest knockout rate in the flyweight division amongst active fighters. It's only 3. It's not super impressive, but for a 125er, you gotta like it. AJ, I'm gonna go opposite of you. I'm gonna take the over on this one, minus 160 over 4.5. I just think Almabayev is gonna stay sticky, stay competitive, and I don't think he's gonna give Kape the flow state to really turn it up like he did against Bruno Silva. Because if you get that version of him, the fight will not last long. This will be over quickly. I like Manel Kape. This is a consensus pick right here. Only difference in opinion that we have is just the outcome. So what are you taking? Knockout?
Taking knockout, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to go decision. Manel Kape currently tracking at plus 185 for points or plus 185 for TKO. So even across the board. Or if you just like Manel Kape, you could pay minus 220. AJ, would you encourage people just flat money line?
Flat money line. I think this is going to be one of the, especially if he wins this fight, I think this is going to be one of the better props that you're going to actually get him on a flat money line. If you are not as confident, I think throw this one into a parlay and you can make some cash right here.
All right, there you have it, folks. Manel Kape, consensus pick for your main event. That's one of the harder fights that we had to break down. Should be pretty smooth sailing from here. Because, AJ, some people were talking about the bout order. Cody Brundage, he finds himself in a co-main event, man, and it's for good reason, bro, because he's a live by the sword, die by the sword fighter, fighting another guy who lives by the same mantra, Julian Marquez, the Cuban Missile Crisis. All right, AJ, what if I told you 8 of the 10 victories Cody Brundage has amassed have all been by finish? And Julian Marquez has literally won every single fight by finish. The man has never won a decision in his life right here. But we have to take a step back. You're taking an over on this fight right here. So I want you to talk to the people a little bit. Your prop lock is over, so we're going to see some extended damage right here. Not unusual for a Julian Marquez fight. Who is the guy you see faltering on this over? Is it Brundage or is it Marquez?
If you asked me, probably a couple years ago, I would say Brundage. I think Marquez would be able to hold that. But now, with the way he's been fighting and the way that Brundage has been growing his own fight style, far be it the last fight that he had where he just got mauled on, but his last couple of fights, I should say, he either lends to be the hammer or the nail. There's really nowhere in between with Cody Brundage, and I expect him to be the hammer on this one, lead with a lot of grappling, lead with that pressure, lead with how we've seen him go have a lot of his wins going forward, and give Marquez another loss by decision. I mean, we've seen him lose a couple different times. At least in his last 3, they were all knockouts. But with the gas tank that Marquez has, that's going to lead toward Brundage being able to add on more time, more damage, more pressure going forward. And I think that's what's going to lead to the over right here.
I'm all about the over. I can see that hitting for sure. What I can't get behind, and this is a personal preference, just from experience, man, just from watching the fights, putting money down, losing money on Cody Brundage specifically. I can't in good faith bet on Cody Brundage in this spot, given that his path to victory, in my opinion, you got to knock out Marquez. Marquez has a really, really underrated gas tank for fighters in his division. And really where you're seeing the losses, Gregory Rodriguez knocked out, Marc-Andre Barriault, you were putting it on the power bar in the first round, and then Barriot took over in the second, knocked him out. That's fair. The last one against Zach Reese, man, the fight never got started. It's hard to count that performance, but a loss is a loss. It's on the record. And if you look at Cody Brundage, show me a really, really good win, except for the mutual one, the Zach Reese win. Like, show me a good win besides that one. And that was even, like, you know, like, listen, Zach Reese is the jiu-jitsu guy. No one expected him to knock out Julian Marquez. But who can you point to that's just like a fantastic victory? Because the best one that I would say is the DQ win that he got for getting beat up by Jacob Malkoun. You know what I mean? And no disrespect, I actually think Brundage is a skilled competitor. I like the factory ex-Muay Thai camp right there. I just think Julian Marquez in his recent form is causing him to be vastly overlooked compared to where he was just a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, Derick. Really, I mean, the only other win that we've seen in the UFC, Dolce Lungiambula, great submission, really back early in the day. Tresean Gore, I don't even know if he's still in the UFC. We know he's had a lot of injuries, but other than that, Cody Brundage is kind of just skirted by, if you will. I do think a lot of the reason why he's in this co-main event is because he will provide that live by the sword, die by the sword style, and hopefully he's not going to be dying by the sword again. Both of these guys got mauled in their last one, so he needs to be able to turn things around, and I think having that more calculated approach instead of just going wild card right off the jump, where I could actually see both of these guys doing that anyway, regardless of if they need the win or not. That will provide more of a baseline for him to be able to find those moments to win the fight.
If there's one thing that plagues Cody Brundage the most in this matchup, I guess for both fighters, we can go back and forth on both, but for Cody Brundage, what's the one thing that plagues him, in your opinion?
Not leading the dance, Derick. Not being able to set things up. When the pressure is on, he more often than not falters.
I was thinking fight IQ, man. That's the thing that I always lean back on, where I'm just like, you're not making the most intelligent move, which is allowing you to like lose these fights. Julian Marquez almost in a similar spot right here. I'm curious who's going to open up and just swing and bang first, because whoever does that, I just think that it is possible. Even if we make over 1.5, all they need to do is start opening up, and it could be over very quickly. All right, man. The opening line. Marquez was pretty heavy, man. Minus 155. It's not super heavy, but he was, compared to now, he's minus 125 plus 105 comeback for Cody Brundage, man. So the line is creeping on Brundage. People are liking him. Again, I think that Julian Marquez doesn't get the respect that he deserves. Over 1.5, still sitting at plus 120 right there, so that stays the same. I'm going to roll with Julian Marquez until Cody Brundage can show me a really, really put together win without the DQs and the funny business. I want to see just a solid bell-to-bell performance. When I see that, I'll start betting on him. But for the time being, I'm going Marquez. And I actually don't have a method of victory personally. I'm just going to rock with minus 125. I think you're getting a discount on the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say, Derick. I'm rolling money line on this one all day. Obviously putting a prop for the over because I think that is going to be what's hitting right here. But Julian Marquez, he's able to find that knockout. Even if it's later in the rounds, I do like him a lot. I'm going Marquez, money line, and like I said, prop lock all day long.
Easy consensus right there. And that leads us to, arguably, AJ, I have a bone to pick with this matchup right here, but one of the most overhyped fights that we have on the card. Not because it's a bad matchup. This is a fireworks matchup, man. But Nasrat Haqparast opened up, AJ, as a plus 215 dog against Esteban Ribovics. He is now a plus 220 dog, minus 270, leading the dance for Esteban Ribovics. That Sphere performance really put this dude on the map, huh? No disrespect. I love the way he fights, man. 15 hard minutes in your face, throwing hooks, throwing big shots, kicks, working the body. What isn't to like about Ribovics? Argentinian monster right here. But AJ, in what world has he fought stiffer competition than Nasrat Haqparast? In what world has he showed better boxing or better speed than Nasrat Haqparast? I haven't seen it. I'm confused because I don't know where minus 270 is coming from. And I think that this is the discount sale of discount sales on the livest dog on the card, Nasrat Haqparast. What do you think?
Absolutely, Derick. When I break down film, I look at things, I process how I think the fight's going to go. I'll make my pick, and then I'll look at the props or the odds after that. Shocked, absolutely shocked that Haqparast was the favorite or the underdog right here. I expected it to be flipped. I thought I was going to be rolling with the dog in Ribovics, but turns out the case. I mean, a lot of people do like him, and again, it could be one of those things where it's what have you done for me lately? But to that point, I mean, in both of their last fights, they had split decisions, and the fight before that, they both had TKOs in round one, decisions after that. Like, it kind of confused me as well because I do think the boxing of Haqparast is not vastly greater, but more polished than what we've seen out of Ribovics. But to that point, Derick, I would say Ribovics is a little more fun and entertaining style of a fighter because he's able to mix it up.
I agree. And that's why I think everybody's on him right now. No disrespect, man, but if there's one thing that you would, if you had to describe Ribovics as a fighter, like what kind of fighter would you say? Is he a knockout fighter? Is he a point fighter? Like what would you describe him as?
A mix and match. He's able to do what he wants. I mean, he still has the high guard. He comes in, but he also able to blitz and really get into the mix with those counters and with the pop that he has in his shots. I would say a new age. That's kind of how I think I would best describe him instead of putting him into one little lump, like, right, just a Mike Tyson only KO or however the case. He's able to do a little bit of everything.
That was a silly question. I shouldn't have asked you because I know you actually watched the film. But if you're going to talk to like the average person, right, who's like, oh yeah, that Ribovics guy, all that I'm hearing on the internet and real life and all of that when I talk to my buddies about, oh, bro, he's knocking dudes out left and right. And I'm like, well, like, yeah, but not in the UFC. In the UFC, the man, one of his 3 wins are via knockout. It's only one of them. And it was the McKinney fight. And it was the instant just came in and put him out. Now, he's swinging hard, man. He's giving people fits. He's giving people problems. But I wouldn't say that Daniel Zellhuber, which was the last win by Ribovics, which he won by a split decision, I wouldn't say that Daniel Zellhuber is by and large a better fighter or a better prospect than Nasrat Haqparast. And I didn't think that Esteban Ribovics looked minus 270 against Zellhuber because he was arguably losing the fight until the 3rd round. That's when he had the big flurry, got the split. Awesome. Yeah, so just to see a big dog. We don't have to keep harping on it, man, but I just think that the line is skewed. And what I want to talk about is how this can be exploited. So first, AJ, let's hit the over. That's the easiest thing to hit. 2.5 rounds, minus 225 for the over, plus 165 for the under. Again, Ribovics, this blood and guts fighter, what do you like, over or under?
I still like the over, Derick, because I respect what Nasrat Haqparast is doing and his abilities to be able to do. Do I think a knockout can happen? Yeah, but I think we're going to have to wear each other down a lot to be able to find those openings because of how skilled both fighters are.
I think both dudes need to tuck their chin. That's what I think. Because Haqparast, although he is largely a decision fighter. Like, let's be fair, man. You know what I mean? He also isn't a dude who's getting knocked out. He's got 1 finished loss in his entire career. In his 5 losses, 4 of them are by decision. For Ribovics, on the other hand, man only has 1 loss in his career, and that was a decision loss, once again, right here. But Nasrat Haqparast has power. Ribovics obviously has power. Like, that's the thing I feel like he's coming into the fight being known for. But with Haqparast, I think it's one of those, AJ, I'm going to butcher it, so I'm going to have you do it for me. Timing and speed and power, and it's one of those. But go ahead.
Precision beats power and timing beats speed. And yeah, that is Haqparast all day long.
Exactly. And given that I don't feel Ribovics is going to try to wrestle in this one, which is what Haqparast had to deal with Jared Gordon in the last fight, this should be a really, really fun fight. Over, I like it. But you're rolling with Ribovics and I'm rolling with Haqparast. I just pretty much laid out the reasons why I think that the line is skewed. For Haqparast, I think he's faster. I think he's a cleaner boxer, in my opinion. He just doesn't throw the kicks that Ribovics does, which will be interesting. And he's still bigger, though. Bigger and longer. So what reasons do you have for Ribovics walking away with this one?
What I like about Ribovics, Derick, is he's able to mix things up. I do think he's going to at least have the opportunity to work in the takedowns, to work in the wrestling. We'll see if he actually does it. But just being able to throw kicks, throw different things out there, have those fast hands that do have the pop in their shots, that's going to gain a lot of respect from Haqparast, who's technically more of the one-dimensional style of fighter, right? Like you said, slick boxing, still has power himself, but he's going to be looking to work the 1s and 2s. Ribovics can go in there and provide a flurry to you, right? And then at that same point, he's dangerous in a brawl. So if Haqparast is going to engage in the fight, it's going to be in close range, in the boxing range, and that's where Ribovics is one of his most dangerous, and homeboy can crack when he does.
He sure can. And that's really where I see it on both ends, man. I think Ribovics is going to be doing the big blitzes. Haqparast is going to be counter-striking, circling out. This is Southpaw versus Orthodox. Only thing that I'm really hoping to avoid is any weirdness that happens in the fight due to the opposite stances. Clashes of heads, things of that nature, because it happens all the time for the split stances. But I just think that this is a who are you willing to rock with? And for me, I'm rocking with the live dog on this one. The value is too high for me not to take it. So the reality is, when I looked at this, I just thought it was a very clear dog or pass once again. So I'm just going to roll with the dog. Nasrat Haqparast, no methodology. I like the over. If you don't care who wins, you just want a rounds bet. But yeah, we're rolling with the live dog for me. AJ, any last words on the Ribovics pick?
We're rolling Ribovics, and like Derick said, if you're just looking for rounds, over all day long. But I'm taking an interesting one here, Derick, and it's because I respect what Nasrat Haqparast can do. I'm taking Ribovics at the decision, but open at minus 110. Not sure what it is right now, but I like that odds for him. I think this is going to be a longer style of fight. Hopefully Ribovics is able to pull it out.
Plus 105 for Ribovics right now on point. Should be an interesting one. All right, AJ, set the table for this next matchup right here. This is a really interesting one. Amil and Gomis, I have a lot of words on it, but set the table for this one.
This one's a lot of fun, folks. I know William Gomis doesn't get the respect that he deserves, but he is a very, very good and well-rounded, solid fighter right here. Tall and technical, going up against would be a little bit of a buzzsaw in Hader Amil, man. This dude is down to brawl in the pocket. He's a wild man, especially if you're down to stand and trade. And I think Gomis is going to have to put a lot out there to be able to control him and hold him down. But like we said before, holding people down, having that pressure doesn't always win fights. So I think this one's going to be a very up and down style of fight. If William Gomis isn't able to hold Hader down, man, this is going to be a very exciting one to watch, folks.
I don't think the UFC likes William Gomis, man. I think that they're giving this dude bad matchup after bad matchup, and he just keeps winning. And I think that they're like, we got to give you somebody. AJ, not to be rude in this matchup here, because I think Hader Amil, I think he's a very, very talented 10-0 fighter right now. Still young in his UFC career, but he's kind of old, man. He's 34 years old, so like he has to make it happen now. How is this fight any different from the Joe Anderson-Brito fight? And if anything, this is like a Joe Anderson-Brito light type fight. Yeah, Amil has pop in his shot. So does Brito. Yeah, Amil has fantastic wrestling. Like, so does Brito. But we just saw William Gomis hit the second split decision that he's gotten in his last 5 fights. So, I mean, I'm just going to throw it out there. It doesn't mean it's a definitive victory. But I am curious, man. How does this differ?
That's one of the notes I have. I see this going very similar to the Joe Anderson-Brito fight. The big difference is Hader Amil able to out-grapple what William Gomis is able to do, and is the control going to be the deciding factor right here? Because if Hader is able to actually do some damage, right, cut him up a little bit, I do think it goes a long way in the eyes of the judges. But he's going to have to be able to stay off his back. And we've seen how good William Gomis is at actually keeping people there. And as well, sitting back and then counter-striking at range. And with how tall he is and how much more of a reach he has on Amil, that does provide a lot of damage. And a lot of things were untangibles we're able to see out of the Gomis side. I think he has a good shot right here, but I do like the buzzsaw and the flurries that are going to be coming out of the Amil corner.
Another key on that one, man, is we saw Joe Anderson-Brito. We've seen him go to hard decisions before. Amil has seen the third round 3 times in his short 10-fight career right here. He's only seen the third round, you know what I mean? So I only bring that up, man, because, yeah, this is pretty much a very easy archetype of a fight right here for William Gomis. He's seen it a bunch of different times. The man has only lost 1 time via finish. That was a heel hook finish to Morgan Charrier back in 2016, the current UFC prospect, the last Pirate. And I just think it's going to be one of those, if he can get past the first 5 minutes of Amil, I think this is smooth sailing for William Gomis. That's when he starts turning it up. The question is, can he get past the first 5 minutes? That's where our betting implications are going to come in here. Over 2.5, and the over is minus 250. AJ, you tell me. The odds makers are basically telling us what they think is going to happen. What does that mean to you?
Woo! I expected the. I think with that, Derick, they're expecting Gomis to be able to win this fight. Because I agree with you. If this thing ends early, it's more than likely going to be Amil. I can see a world where he's able to pull out a decision. But if you look at the props, folks, like the props for decision at open, minus 115 for Gomis, plus 325. Not a lot of people have faith in Amil actually taking this one to decision.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting right here because it's like one of these has to be wrong, right? Like Hader Amil plus 165. All right, that's fair. You can get the win. You're a dog right here. William Gomis, heavy minus 195 favorite. We just talked about what the over looks like. If we're looking at a decision prop for William Gomis, this is another interesting one. Minus 115, minus 115, minus 115 is the decision prop for William Gomis. So all bets, all the money is actually on William Gomis right here. But the way that it is, you would think the line would be heavier. Out of 10 fights, man, how many times do you think Amil can just buzzsaw through him? After what you've seen from Gomis, man, what is he on how many fight win streak? I can't even tell you. I don't even have the number right now, but you tell me. What do you think?
Out of 10 fights, Derick, I'd say 2, possibly 3, with how skilled Gomis actually is. And I agree with you. He does get a lot of hate from the UFC. I think that's why they're feeding Amil to him. But I think he's able to find those moments to be able to control and have the fight go his way 7, 8 times out of 10, right around there.
Yeah, man. William Gomis strikes me as the type of fighter, though. This is why I think they might not like him, where he doesn't care what the fans say, boo, cheer, whatever. I'm going to get my win, and you're going to keep re-signing me. Who knows? All right, hit the road, Jack, But anyways, with this pick, man, I need to see a little bit more from Amil. Don't get me wrong. I watch him fight, and I'm like, this dude is impressive, man. Like, he is starching these dudes. I've just bet against William Gomis so many times, and I've been wrong so many times, man, that it's the same story over and over again. So until, again, it's another one, like, you got to show me that you can beat this dude until I start betting against him, because plus 165 isn't lucrative enough. Like, he needs to be a bigger dog for me to really hop on there. So I'm going to take Gomis, and then I'm going to roll with the decision, man. Make it easy. Another decision win in the books. What do you got for Amil?
I like where your head's at, Derick, but I think we might see some different things going in this fight right here. I'm going with, like I said, the mini buzzsaw, man, 145-pound killer in Hader Amil. I like him actually at that open TKO prop, man. I think it was plus 450 when it opened up. What's it at right now, Derick? Because that is what the best way I see that Hader Amil is going to be able to win this fight. Get in there, do some damage. Don't let Gomis grab you. Come back and crack him again. Knock him out. Do you have it?
Plus 400.
Ooh, it's getting a little bit better, folks. Plus 400, and we talked about it before with just the minus money or the money line. The odds are shifting a little bit. A lot of people are putting their money on Hader Amil, strictly money line. I'm rocking with the dog. Let's hope we see a TKO.
All right, we'll see it. Featherweight, man. Amil, he's a solid one. Going to have to grow a couple of inches, get an arm extension for a couple of inches. We'll see. All right, AJ, but real deal right now. You want to talk about a real interesting fighter? We're talking about Danny Barlow, man. This dude seems to have a lot of star power behind him. He's winning fights in ways that he shouldn't, man. He's supposed to be knocking everybody out. That's kind of what he's known for. But the man has suffered 2 arm fractures in back-to-back fights, man. One against Varetnikov, the other one against Josh Quinlan, and he won both the fights. But if you recall, I missed on the under on Danny Barlow on the last fight because I was like, what is this dude doing? He doesn't look like himself. Lo and behold, you broke your arm. You just had to win the fight. He got a split decision. Cool. AJ, the thing that worries me, that was last August, and we're only in February. So it's been like 6 months. And 6 months is a long time. But is that enough to come off of back-to-back arm fractures on your power hand, the left hand to God that you're supposed to be knocking dudes out with? Is it enough time? You tell me.
I don't think so, Derick. I mean, 6 months is enough time for your bones to heal, but for enough for you to crack somebody with the power that Danny Barlow has, I don't think so, man. Especially with 2 different fractures going into this, it does provide a lot of pause. Hopefully they've just been working it up, getting it durable again, because yeah, he does have some power in there, and that leads to even more potential to break.
But let me ask you, man, how do you bet against him in a fight like this? You look at him, he's a minus 320 favorite. No, the world knows. It's public information. The man's coming off of 2 arm fractures. Listen, Sam Patterson is nasty, dude. 11 to 12 wins via stoppage. Submission machine. Let him get into mount. It could be over very, very quickly. But he's also one of those tall fighters who just keeps that chin tucked up in the air, man. And against a fighter like Danny Barlow, I just can't bet against those types of fighters, man. You need to be very technically sound, because the thing about Barlow that I find is interesting, and he's a freak athlete with nasty speed and a propensity to just hone in. That left hand is like a heat-seeking rocket that just finds the chin every time. And as long as the arm holds up, I think we're probably going to see a knockout. What do you think?
I'm agreeing with you, Derick. That was one of the notes I had for Patterson. Tall fighter with good range management, but he gets a little bit too comfortable at range, and that's where the chin just starts to peak up a little bit. And with how athletic Barlow is, I can see him crushing that distance until he finds that opening, lands that missile we're talking about. We could possibly see a knockout right here, Derick. I mean, they're both, or at least Barlow's well-rounded. Patterson, yes, he does have the good counter-striking, but he is more of that grappler with very, very slick submissions. So I do see it where there is a world where Patterson can pull something slick right here, but more often than not, I think Danny Barlow gets this win.
Another split stance matchup, southpaw for Barlow, orthodox fighter is Sam Patterson. I'm interested to see what the flying knees look like, that rear leg body kick from Danny Barlow. But AJ, there's not a lot of value here. The only place where you could see relative value, I would say, is the totals. Over 1.5 is minus 110, under 1.5 is minus 120. So if the arm is an issue, I think over 1.5 is a very, very smart play right here. We just don't know. I mean, what does your intuition tell you?
Very, very smart play. I actually like the over, regardless if the arm holds up right here, Derick, because of how dangerous Patterson is. If Danny Barlow gets a little bit reckless in there and he crashes in too soon, especially early in the fight when they're still dry, Patterson has the ability to grab him up, lock him up, and then put him to sleep, or get another kind of submission going. And he is very, very slick and fast with them. So I do think Danny Barlow, as athletic as he is, he needs to be cautious enough to be able to enter and then exit and not be willing to sit in that middle zone and end up getting grabbed.
You know, the UFC's commentary team was very appreciative. They praised Kiefer Crosby a lot in Sam Patterson's last opponent. They praised him a lot for his boxing. They're talking about how crisp his boxing was. Now, Sam Patterson was a little, his boxing is cool, but he doesn't have the best hands. But as soon as it got to the mat, he was able to pretty much it was light work, you know what I mean? It was very simple. I think Danny Barlow is going to be a lot better of a boxer, just like a pure counter-sniping boxer. Right here, I'm just curious, too, when it comes down to the takedown defense, 100% takedown defense for Danny Barlow in the UFC thus far. Not a lot of fights to work with here, but if you're looking at Kiefer Crosby, and then you're looking at Danny Barlow, and you're looking at just the strength of opposition right here, you would say Sam Patterson really has to make grappling an emphasis in this fight, right?
Oh, absolutely, Derick. He absolutely has to make grappling an emphasis, especially with how athletic and powerful Danny Barlow is. He can crack you from when you're not really expecting him to be in range. And with how good Danny Barlow's kicks are as well at range, I do think that provides an interesting zone to where Danny Barlow is able to be very, very dangerous. And Sam Patterson needs to be able to avoid that by smashing that distance and actually crushing it to where he can work his best game.
Yeah, man, body lock him up, trip him, get him to the ground, and try to do some work right here. 6-9 career wins via knockout for Danny Barlow. Like I said, 11-12 from Sam Patterson. So even if we go over 1.5 right here, are we expecting this fight to end in a finish, definitively?
Oh, definitively, Derick. I mean, the odds makers seem to see it, at least if you're a Danny Barlow better opening TKO prop at -135. And with how close the opening or the over and under is, I do think we're expected to see a finish right here.
One interesting play, I'm just going to put it out there for the Sam Patterson bettors of the world, +425 for submission prop for Sam Patterson, coming off of back-to-back submission victories, 3 submission wins in his last 5 fights. Just something to think about. But Danny Barlow, that's the consensus pick right here. I'm going to bet over 1.5 rounds. I'm taking a total on this one. We're staying away from betting Danny Barlow. -320 is too steep based on the double arm fractures right here. So that's my take on that one. What do you got, AJ?
I agree with you. I like the over right here. And as much as I think a TKO is going to happen, -135 might be a little too steep for the double arm break and for what we've seen going in 6 months back. So I think there's a lot of history you got to take into this. I like the over.
All right, fair. That's your main card right there. UFC Fight Night 253. We hit it from top to bottom. And now for the next most important part of our program right here, exclusive to you guys watching, let's cover some bonus plays, AJ. We got 4 plays on the docket. You're the arbiter of truth. You're going to let us know. We're going to review every one, and then you will let us know the official bonus play for UFC Fight Night 253.
And now, the Bloody Water Podcast presents your Fight Night bonus plays.
We're going to start bottom rotation here, AJ, and we'll work our way up. Let's start with the first one. Chepe Mariscal versus Ricardo Ramos over 2.5 rounds at +120. Very, very interesting given that Ramos seems to be the no cardio guy and Mariscal is the all cardio guy. Talk to the people about this one.
Absolutely, Derick, +120. Once Mariscal has entered into the UFC, majority decision fights, and Ramos has been finished a couple of times as of late, but I'm expecting a longer fight right here, similar to Ramos versus Culibao, and if Mariscal is able to run away and have that cardio, yeah, man, I think the over 2.5 makes a lot of sense right here.
I don't know if this is a fight Ramos is going to want to sit and just pull guard a bunch of times. I don't know against Mariscal. That might not be your best play, but it's an interesting play nonetheless. All right, interesting one right here. Taking a parlay. We're looking at J.J. Aldrich and Luana Carolina right here. Interesting, AJ, because I'm not sure. Even though J.J. Aldrich is a heavy -210 right here, I'm not sure if Adriana Lee deserves to be this big of a dog. I'm not sure. I just haven't fleshed it out fully. But you like her, a J.J. Aldrich and Luana Carolina +149. Or I guess I should say this is a bonus play of consideration. Talk to the people.
Absolutely, Derick. And to what you were saying with Andrea KGB Lee, I agree with you. But at least if as her active, I don't have it pulled up, but I'm pretty sure she's on a 5-fight skid right here, folks. So I think that's why she has such a drastic underdog status against Aldrich. But I'm going Aldrich money line versus or plus Carolina money line. That partners you up at +149 right here. Both fighters are substantial favorites to win their respective fights. Facing opponents on a skid, it makes even more sense to pair them up. I think they're the only 2 girl fighters on this card. +149 for 2 favorites. Though I do like that money.
Close. We do have a that Montana. Well, the 2 female matchups, we should say, right? Anyways, yes, I think this is an interesting play right here, and you are correct. I actually forgot about this 5-fight lose streak for Andrea Lee. Take it even further, AJ. If we're looking at her last 10 fights, Dog, she's like 2-8 in her last 10 fights, man. A lot of, like, all decisions, like, not getting knocked out. So, like, you know, shout out. But, yeah, we'll see. All right, that's a good one. Next up, man, Manel Kape, our main event fighter, by knockout against Asu Almabayev, plus 190. Talk to him.
Well, we alluded to it earlier, right? It's not an exactly short notice fight, but it is a shorter notice fight from what Kape is used to be fighting. So I'm expecting him to not necessarily have the normal gas tank or the willingness to dump his gas tank like he normally does when he's in that flow state. That being said, he is fast, he's athletic, he's well-rounded. I think he wins the fight majority of the time. Going to be hunting for the TKO prop. I like to see him try to prove a point right here. And what was it? I forgot to write it down, Derick. What's the prop TKO at again now instead of at open?
Oh, yeah, not that plus 190. Let's see where we're at right now. What I'm tracking is plus 185.
Plus 185, still some good money for a Kape KO.
Yeah, that's right. All right, and then the last one, contrary to pretty much everything we just talked about, but Danny Barlow, Sam Patterson, under 1.5, minus 130. As I told you guys just a second ago, the live odd on that one, as of this moment, when we're recording this, minus 120 right here. Talk to him.
Yeah, a little bit contrary to what we were thinking, but when I was looking at this one, this is one of the best odds you were going to get on this fight, especially where it will probably end in a TKO, like we were saying. Either goes over or under. I mean, the money's basically kind of similar going forward. Mm-hmm. And what interested me in this one a lot, Derick, was the fight to end in KO was minus 200. So you're cashing in on that, but getting it at a better price right here. I see this one ending. It's just where you want to bet your money on the over and under.
All right, well, 4 plays. Let me recap them for you again. Chepe Mariscal versus Ricardo Ramos, over 2.5. JJ Aldrich, Luana Carolina moneyline parlay. Manel Kape by knockout. And then Danny Barlow versus Sam Patterson, under 1.5. AJ, what is the official bonus play? UFC Fight Night 253.
Official bonus play, folks. We're going Kape by KO plus 185 right here. We've been talking about all day. I alluded to it earlier. I was battling between this and the parlay, but I think the Kape KO is going to be hitting all day.
In line with what we had spoke about when we broke down this matchup. So if you didn't catch that one for whatever reason, if you just skipped ahead to the bonus plays, go check it out, get a little bit of context. You got some good bangers right there, folks. Now, we're not done. The fun has not been concluded. This is the most important part. This is the unknowns of today, the stars of tomorrow. Folks, short on time. Don't even worry about it. We gotcha. We're going to highlight the best fights on the prelims, the ones we have specifically picked to have the most amazing outcome.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're going to sleep on me and I'm going to wake you up.
AJ, you actually have a really, really underrated, like, sleeper right here that I think everybody needs to tune into. Talk to the people.
Absolutely, folks. Danny Silva versus Lucas Almeida in the 145-pound division right here. Danny Silva, fast hands, great pressure, very well-rounded. Watch for his blitz to enter, and then he throws massive power shots. Lucas Almeida, the classic pressure style of fighter right here, uses it to also find the counter strikes. Tall, great range management, hits hard. There's a lot of intangibles you'd love to see going into this fight, folks. But what you need to know, 19 combined finishes, 14 of them coming from the Almeida side right here. Majority of those being knockouts. Silva has 5 knockouts himself, no submission finishes, but the crazy thing, none of them have come inside the UFC octagon. This is either going to be a passing of the torch fight or a stand your ground and hold the gate closed fight if you're looking for Almeida. Either way, it's going to be a very fun one. Make sure you tune in.
Dog, people don't know that, or I should say, people don't know how hyped up Lucas Almeida was when he came into the UFC. He was supposed to be the next big thing, man. He just hasn't found the success that ultimately we know he's capable of. Folks, watch this fight. This is going to be a fun one. All right, I have to put out my sleeper this way, folks. Y'all need to stop sleeping on Charles the Energy Johnson. He's a sleeper because y'all keep sleeping on him. He was the first fight of the night. They moved him up to the side. Okay, all right, that's fair, right? He gets Ramazan Temirov. What does the man have to do in this flyweight division to get a real name, a real fight, a real opportunity at the rankings, a real opportunity at gold? I don't know, but he's gonna keep putting on, keep showing up and showing out, folks. This is a sleeper because we know Charles Johnson. This is not the first fighter of this ilk that that fed him. He's winning fights against guys that he's not supposed to. He's an underdog against guys he's not supposed to be, and he has pretty much found himself, at least when I was first picking this as a sleeper, as even money with Ramazan Temirov, who yeah, you made a splash in the UFC, right? Your first fight, CJ Vergara, you knocked him out in the first round, and I will give kudos to that one. But the reason I think that this is going to be a sleeper fight is because Charles Johnson, I think, should be a massive favorite right here. I'm not going to say that Temirov, who has 12 career finishes overall, 11 knockouts, 1 submission, the vast majority of those are happening in the first round. But AJ, I did some digging. And you know, from time to time, we explore the Tapology page and we look at, okay, you got a bunch of knockouts, man. Let me just go ahead and rattle off some records of some of these guys that he's knocked out. We're talking about 1-1, 3-5, 4-2, 0-0, 0-1, 3-2, over and over again. 2 losses, an 8-3 fighter, and a 7-2 fighter. So respect. At least that was above, right? But the vast majority, 5-1, 4-1, 9-3. You see this over and over again. He does have 2 wins against a 16-9 fighter and a 15-8 fighter, but the majority of the fights that this dude is just cleaning all up, these are a lot of regional scenes. I'll just leave it at that. We're just going to leave it at that. Charles Johnson, reputable, established. We know what he's capable of. So this is a sleeper because y'all sleeping on Charles Johnson, and I'm going to put some respect on the man's name. I do think Ramazan Temirov is a fun fighter, though. So let's see what he can do in the UFC. Shout out to Uzbekistan. Shout out to the good folks over there. But America, I think we're taking this one. -125 for Charles Johnson. Slam that right now, folks. This is a sleeper. I'm not supposed to give you a pick or a bet, but you're getting it anyways. That's it right there. AJ, real quick, before we move to the mailbag, man, what does Charles Johnson have to do? I know I was asking a rhetorical, but I'm serious. What does he have to do to get some limelight?
Get more than 2 KO wins in the UFC, Derick. I mean, as much as I agree with you, he needs more respect on his name. He does have all the intangibles to be able to put on a show, and I think his opponent right now is going to be able to provide that because I do think how exciting Temirov is. He's able to have those moments where he crashes in, but Charles Leonard G. Johnson has the power to put him asleep. I like it a lot right here.
That's right. And no disrespect on Charles Johnson neither. Yes, some more UFC finishes. The man does have 10 career finishes, though. I mean, come on. What do you got to do? 125 pounds. We'll see. All right, folks. That was your sleeper section and the final aspect of our program here today. Let's do a quick mailbag. AJ, a couple questions that we need to cover. And don't got a lot. We actually got 3 on the docket here today. And not all related to this event, which is actually kind of interesting. But let's bring up this first one, man. Mearsley1203. Flyweight is quietly becoming quite a deep division. I think it only doesn't look too good at the moment because Pantoja has cleaned the house at the top. Winner of Asu Almabayev getting the push next. Interesting question, kind of what we framed up in the beginning, but I guess I want to take the answer, or I'll let you answer first here, AJ, but Almabayev, does he get the big push with this win? This seems like he's the one poised for a push here. Kape doesn't really seem like he gets much off of this win. What do you think?
Yeah, that's exactly where my mind went, Derick. I think Kape is already in line to have his shot soon enough. But if Almabayev gets this win over Kape, that's a massive slingshot right here. Absolutely astronomical. And would he get the push next to be able to fight? Quite possibly. I mean, quite possibly, like the question asked. I mean, Pantoja has ran through the division. He might have to do 1, maybe 2 more fights to get that title shot. But man, especially if he knocks Kape out, yeah, he's in the push for sure.
And that's why, I mean, you got to, Kape is a dangerous man because this is a dangerous position to be in. You know what I mean? Like, I imagine he didn't have to take the fight. Like, imagine you'd be like, oh, my opponent pulled out. Like, I can just opt not to fight. But I think that he has already had so many canceled fights. He's like, fuck it. We're going. It's going to be a fist fight, and we're swinging. So, to answer the question, yeah, Almabayev gets a big push. Kape kind of in a lose-lose right here, but we'll see what happens. Next one, Trenbolone Poppy. Interesting name. Do you know what Trenbolone is, AJ? I don't know what that is.
Trenbolone, Derick. It's it's a steroid tren. A lot of people say Trenbolone sandwiches because a lot of people are juiced up at the gym. They're not eating their sandwiches. They're taking their Trenbolone out there.
All right, fair enough. All right, Fiziev is going to take out Justin this time, I feel. All right, breaking news, folks. Dan Hooker out of his fight against Justin Gaethje. And instead of booking up Dustin Poirier or Renato Moicano or any of the guys that raised their hand, they gave him the Fiziev rematch. So Fiziev is going to take out Justin this time, I feel. Yeah, it's short notice, and he's coming off a 1-year layoff, but Justin's very damaged goods, and Fizzy is still young. Fiziev was beating the crap out of Justin in the first round, really making Justin look old and slow. Then the eye poke happened. There is no question here. I guess it's just a statement on this one. What do you make of this one, AJ?
It's not wrong. It's not wrong. I mean, I do think Fiziev was doing a lot of damage, especially in that first round. But to say Justin Gaethje is damaged goods, that's where I think the stretch comes into play. I mean, Justin Gaethje can knock you out at any point, any time, especially if Fizie's cardio and explosive abilities dwindles a little bit, right? He starts getting lumped up a little bit, and Justin Gaethje's able to get on a roll. I think Justin Gaethje could win the fight again, but yeah, I mean, Fiziev is a younger guy, and he is in the spot to be able to make a move going forward, and this is the fight to be able to prove it.
Yeah, younger, fresher. I mean, Gaethje, he takes pretty long layoffs after his fights, though, so it's not like he's had some like quick turnaround. Listen, man, I bet on Fiziev the first fight, and I lost. I don't know if I would bet on Fiziev again for this one. I'm unsure. We got to do some film study, see what happens. But I think that, or I guess entertainment level, 1 to 10.
Ooh, 8. I'd say 8. Yeah. I think this one's gonna be a very fun fight.
I think Dan Hooker and Gaethje would have been like a 12 out of 10, man. So I'm just a little bummed. You know what I mean? Like wanted a better replacement. Oh well. All right, last one. DM me your cat paws. Jamal Hill, he's still being a bit underappreciated. Looked great against Yuri, better than Rakic did, that's for sure. To the point where I think if Yuri hadn't randomly discovered head movement, I think he would have lost. Hey man, fair. Right, I said that this was the moment where Jamal Hill really shows up. He shines. Yuri is a guy that doesn't move his head. He's going to be prone to getting hit. But yeah, man, he turned into a real. I don't know what you want to call it, but the goofiness worked out, man. And maybe the unorthodox nature is just one of those where Hill could have fought a regular, more traditional opponent. I don't know. What do you make of it?
If Yuri didn't have the awkward timing but still had the head movement, I think Jamal Hill would have been able to piece him up. But the thing is, man, he has that awkward timing with everything else, and then the hands down. Man, Yuri was looking slick out there, and yeah, I mean, I laughed at randomly discovered because it really did come out of nowhere. I was with you. I was watching film. I was like, man, Yuri needs to move his head. Sure enough, he found it randomly, and it got me. But yeah, Jamal Hill is still very underappreciated, and I think a lot of it goes into just how his fights go randomly, right? Like, yeah, and I don't want to say randomly again because it's in the question, but even the breaking of his arm or the knockouts that happen when he's looking good, the whole hand touch thing that happened with Paeta, like things don't just go the way for Jamal Hill, and it seems like he's always on the opposite side of good luck.
Yeah, man. I mean, the real question that you have to ask, and this is coming from me, I'm a big Jamal Hill supporter, man. Like, I thought that I think technically in this division, 100 or 205-pound division, there's not many dudes who have the technical stand-up that he has that has the amount of power on it too. But you have to ask, because I don't care if it's 2025, man. Any sport, the man tore his Achilles, dog. Like, you're never the same coming back from that. I mean, damaged goods, we're both damaged goods. We got some knee injuries and all that, man. I can attest it's not quite the same after, and you just have to come to terms with it. So given that he's in such a heavy weight class, though, where not that much athleticism is needed unless you're like a Yuri Prochazka, could you imagine all the guys not named Alex Paeta and Yuri Prochazka, Jamal Hill still should be he's a former champ, should be at the pinnacle, right?
Oh, absolutely. If he's not 3, he's number 4. I definitely think we're talking Jamal Hill versus Rakic, I think Jamal Hill wins that fight. You line Jamal up against the majority of the people, like you said, not named Paeta, not named Yuri. Yeah, I think he wins the vast majority of the fights he's placed against.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to end it right there, man. UFC, Vegas 103, Fight Night 253, whatever you want to call it. Manel Kape versus Almabayev. That's going to be a fun matchup, folks. Tune in. We got some banger picks for you. Subscribe if you haven't done so. AJ, that's the program, yeah?
Yes, sir. It's going to be a fun weekend, folks. Like we say, winning your money all the time. All you got to do is hit that button.